Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Good to see you as well. So, before we start this special seminar, I wish to acknowledge that the University of Western Australia is situated on Noongar land, and the Noongar people remain the spiritual and cultural custodians of their land and continue to practice their values, languages, beliefs, and knowledge. Again, on behalf of the University of Western Australia and the Institute of Agriculture, I warmly welcome you all to this special lecture delivered by Professor Ferdous Sohel. Ferdous is a professor of information technology at Murdoch University. He previously worked at the University of Western Australia in the computer science group. He leads research in artificial intelligence, AI, machine vision, multi-platform, multi-domain sensing, and digital technologies in agriculture, health, medicine, environment, and biosecurity at Murdoch University. He is a teacher, a supervisor, mentor of scholarship, and written 200 scientific papers. Some of them are very highly cited, and has been giving keynote speeches and also editorial board member of several journals. And more importantly, Sohel is also the inaugural program lead of the Agriculture Technologies of Western Australian Agriculture Research Collaboration Walk. So while we were talking, Sohel said he wants to really address a bunch of group of people, especially from UWA, and others are most welcome, about the digital technologies in agriculture and contemporary research, and what the walk can offer, or at least what we can do together to enhance this kind of collaboration. So Sohel, thank you for coming. I know you're very busy at the moment, but welcome.
All right, so thanks very much, and I welcome you all to my talk, and thanks for coming down the way, like someone is driving quite a long distance, and also especially in the week, middle of the week. So thank you very much for coming, and I hope I don't let you down. All right, so today I'm wearing two hats. One is a Murdoch professor, and other one is work program lead in the agriculture technologies. And I'm using Murdoch's color quite a lot in the slides, so I'm wearing the work badge. All right, so let's move on. So I'm going to talk about agricultural technologies, especially emerging technologies, and more specifically is AI and machine learning. So I also acknowledge the country that we are on the lands of the Wajak and Noongar people, and we pay our respects to their elders of the past and present and emerging. And we also acknowledge that this has been a land for a long time of education and learning. So before I go into the talk, let me talk about myself, just to establish my platform that where I'm coming from. So I am a computer science engineer by training, by trade. So I did my double degree in computer science and engineering, and then a PhD at Monash University in computing and IT, majoring image processing. Then I came to UWA as my first job, and I was a research associate, and then got my own fellowship, and then got a DECRA, and was in the ranks of an assistant professor. Then I moved to Murdoch University. Around that, so my academic career can be divided into halves. First half, 7.5 years here, and another roughly 8 years at Murdoch. So quite half. So if you look at this diagram, I can summarize all my research. At the core of it, it is AI, computer imaging, and computer vision and machine learning that forms the core. And since I've been climbing to the ladders of academic promotion, etc., so we have to diversify, go interdisciplinary. So I embarked into applied areas as well. So that's in agriculture, in health and biomedicine, and also environment and biosecurity. So if you look at my last 20 publications, maybe about half of them are in pure computing, and the remaining 10, so 5 would be agriculture, and 3 and 2 otherwise. So quite spread, but still I retain my core computing. However, at Murdoch, I started forming the AgTech theme, so that's why we do partnerships, digital agriculture collaboration partnerships with DPARD and a few other industries. Gradually, we got a few students. We learned the basics about biology and agriculture, and we started doing good stuff. And around the same time, luckily for me, that work was also formed, and then work advertised for the AgTech program lead, and I applied, and like the leadership team, they thought, okay, this guy can do something. So that's why I am at here. So if you look at my profile, I'm quite busy in publishing, not as busy as these legends, but I do quite a bit. And coming up, and I have my profile here. I'm the program lead for work in agriculture technologies. I'm an associate editor for IEEE transactions on multimedia, IEEE signal processing letters, and also computer and electronics in agriculture. That's the flagship carrier in terms of journals in our field of interdisciplinary computing and agriculture. So which is a good journal, and I feel privileged that I have been there as an editor. So here's my email address. Feel free to contact me for any feedback, anything you want to discuss, collaboration, etc. So then I thought I'd summarize my about 20 years of career in one slide. So that's the beginning of it, 2D and 3D image processing, computer vision, and pattern recognition. So that was pre-2012, and that was pre the boom, machine learning boom. 2013, 2012, 13, those 2 years where the deep learning started emerging. So this work is predated that. Then I do biometrics. That was my ARC DECRA. So as an early career researcher, it was a privilege to win that one. So in this project, we did biometrics like fingerprint and eye, like retinal print, etc. recognition. However, my work was a little bit different. It's not simply recognition. Imagine how many times we change our passwords and username. We change many times. Now, if the biometrics, the fingerprint is stolen, compromised, we can't change it because we own it. It's not something that I remember. So instead of using the genuine fingerprint, we offered a solution that, okay, we use a transformed version of the fingerprint. And that transformation is non-invertible. It means I have my original fingerprint, then a matrix of non-invertible mechanism. We get a distorted form of it. We only record this distorted form. Never record this one. So if this is compromised, the user can go and reproduce another one using another transformation. No problem with that. We have an array of transformations. And the brilliant piece of it is if someone knows this fingerprint distorted one and the non-invertible matrix that was originally used, doesn't matter, they cannot reverse the process. So your original biometrics will be protected. So that was my ARC, that in 2012, 13, 14, 15. I took 4 years to do it, so that was the years. Then we extended the work into audio visuals, acoustic scenes, and surveying the background like jungles, how many tigers are there, or how many black-tailed cockatoos are there, like that, based on their acoustics, based on their sound footprints. All right, then extended to aerial surveys like sharks detection that was funded by the state government. We do invasive ants, detection of feral cats at the backyard or in the agricultural areas, marine species like coral, kelp, seagrass, etc. recognition, and monitoring their health over the years, like how a lot of activities and global warming is contributing to their demise or reduction of the population and the habitats of this nice ecosystem in the marine parts. Then, like marine ocean, sorry. And then swimmers techniques. This was a good project. This one, we used aerial and submerged cameras inside a swimming pool and then record the Olympic swimmers, how do they swim, how the strokes are made, how much time they're submerged, when the arms or wings are open, etc., how they kick, etc. So this was recorded and to form a 3D model and then 3D CFD, like fluid dynamics, etc. So we can give the coaches a bit of hint that how they're performing. Is there any areas they can improve? That's number one. More importantly, these tricks and trajectories can be used to train the youngsters. So that we did, and our London Olympic swimmers was a part of the trial, and somehow in that year, our swimming team didn't do well. So, but we but then we stopped the project. That the funding was done. It's an ARC linkage project, so it was a good fun. But I still believe that was a very good project, and it could be used to train people in the future in a virtual environment, in VR and augmented reality. Brilliant thing. Okay, and so then EHR, cardiovascular disease and heart failures. I talk about one line about heart failure, cardiovascular disease, stroke, and COVID at the same time. We did two things here. When a patient comes to the hospitals, then there may be a shortage or requirement of resources planning that this patient may need ICU or may need intubation or may need an emergency surgery based on their current physiology, and that may need 6 hours time. So you can prepare those stuff upfront, give an early warning sign. That's number one. And number two, at the time of a patient to be released. Now in WA, I think in many developed worlds, same thing, that when a patient is released from the hospital and they go home, if they die or if they come back for the same cause of the disease to the hospital within 90 days, the hospitals are penalized financially. So the hospitals cannot simply let a patient go home that, oh, okay, you go home, you're okay. So there has to be a measurement of their situation and the likelihood of them coming back sometimes later. And also, on the other hand, the hospitals cannot really occupy a patient in a bed, which is very expensive. So there's a trade-off. So what we offer is, out of hundreds of parameters that the doctors and the patients deal with, we summarize a score and give the most important physical and like diagnostic symptoms that, look, these are the cases, these are the reasons why we think this patient may be coming back in the next 30 days or next 90 days. So, and this is the score, this is the likelihood. Now you decide. So this was done all under one, I put them all in one circle, but these are heart failure, stroke, COVID, and nowadays we are doing, just got funded a few weeks ago, that's about when a patient is under surgery, then they're under anesthesia, then what is the likelihood of them collapsing and not reviving at all? Or the internal situations, how they are behaving, and our target is to predict something 2 minutes ahead in time. Not like a long-term prediction, 2 minutes ahead, 120 seconds. That's a lot of time for the people in the room to decide and manage something. ECTEC, I'll talk about it. And unlearning and federated learning, these are two amazing works here. So they deal with privacy, data security, and data sovereignty. So unlearning is, imagine we have learned an AI model, and the model is being used, then the data, we don't have the data. Somewhere data is hidden. But then all of a sudden, one group wanted to withdraw from the study. Or like there could be some, say, some medicines are taken out of the shelf at the moment, or even some varieties in agriculture that they are no longer in use. So those bits have to be removed from the learned models without disturbing the remaining parts. That is we call unlearning, and we want to unlearn from learned models where the original data is unknown. So that's a challenge, and we are trying to do it. I have 2 students, they are doing the hard work, so hopefully we'll get something out of it. Federated learning is very, very relevant to agriculture. Here, lots of data are collected by different groups of people, groups of researchers, and many a times the data is never shared. They hide the data. So what we offer is, okay, don't share the data, but give us the data on your computers. We learn a small localized model, another group, another model, another group, another model, and then we learn a bigger model, super model. That way, all the jurisdiction data, they are protected, but the benefit out of the data can be utilized. So it is very suitable for health, agriculture, and other areas where the data sensitivity and data sharing is very stringent. And we are working with the UK and New South Wales, and even New South Wales and WA, they don't share the data between the hospitals. So we are doing these projects under federated learning. And quantum one is a bit of like a fun bit. I'm not quite expert in that yet, but we are learning how the quantum computers work, and if you can do something very big data, very large language models can be done in a very fast and very highly accurate way. So that's coming up. Queensland is very good in that. They recently invested $2 billion in quantum computing. So it's coming up. We're in the West. I hope it propagates quickly from Queensland to Perth. Okay. And we have a few other work that I don't want to go, but robotics is very important for farming, agriculture. Technologies, we are in the soft part of it, but then when we put the soft part onto mechanics, machines, that becomes a product. And robotics is very suitable for that, like doing automatic tilling, doing automatic harvesting, or the drone can go and self-propel itself that, oh, okay, it looks like that area is good, but that area doesn't look good. So go there closer, and then path plan, go down, take more photos. So those can be done through robotics. So all up, this summarizes my research, and this green circle, it is all about imaging. So anything that comes a little bit outside the imaging, green circle, that means there are certain things that are not imaging related, but anything that is inside the circle, they're all about imaging. And this red circle is all about AI. So you can see like about 20 years here, so AI. And we deal with data in RGB, normal mobile phone cameras, RGB and depth, three-dimensional data like LiDARs, videos, satellite, thermal, acoustic sonar, aquatic, hyperspectral, microscopic, retinal fundus photos, etc. And we also face a lot of challenges. So like classification, sometimes the annotations are wrong, sometimes annotations are missing, sometimes the data, half of the image is gone, but other half is okay. So we want to use them. So these are the things that we deal with. So I skip this remaining part, but let's talk about agriculture. So these are my projects that I lead from Murdoch, and we have been doing it since like about 6 years now. So first one, AI and imaging. So we do detection of weeds and classification of them, pests and insects, disease detection, then early frost, heat stress, salt stress, and grain seed classification. In the low resource data communication and long range communications, we want to monitor livestock using LoRaWAN technologies and tracking and virtual fencing. That's about all of this together. Then AI-based analytics of body mount sensors. That's about monitoring cattle and especially sheep for their normal grazing behavior and profiling them. And also, especially if they're approaching a lambing event happening soon, so we want to predict that timing. Then we also expanded this work bit of adventure, like AI for 3D phenotyping. So that means now we reconstruct the plants in 3D and do measurement of the seeds, grains, and their health and the body mass, etc., using 3D. And one day we aim to grow some crops in the space or on Mars. So that's what we are aiming for. Aquaculture and poultry, these are my collaborative projects. We are doing some monitoring of fish feeding behavior and fish swimming trajectories, etc. So that lead to their health and well-being and food, etc. And for poultry, especially geese and pigeons, we'll monitor the temperature of the shed, and that tells about the health and situation. So that's what we are trying to monitor. So the bottom two are not led by us. It is our collaborative projects. All right, so how we do all this? I have very simple, one single recipe. That's what we use for any of the work that I am going to cover and I mentioned. So first one is define the problem. If we can define a problem, there is a solution available, or a solution will be made available. No problem with that. So define the problem first clearly, and then prepare the data that fits the problem. We are all data hungry, data driven, so data is needed. So problem formulation and data preparation, they come side by side. Then we use AI models. Now I use the word use. In most cases, we develop our new AI models. Like we have developed about 60 different types of AI models so far in the last decade or so. And then once the outcomes are done, we do analytics. So problem definition, preparation, the data, models, and then analytics. So I just added a little bit of more complexity here, how it looks like. So for instance, we want to do weed detection problem or detection of shark. So there will be millions of images coming. Not every image will have the things that we are looking for. Maybe 1 in a million. So detection of that particular object or particular thing is very important and very challenging. Detect the disease, that there is a disease or there is a weed. And then once we know that, okay, this image has the disease, where it is. Say we are looking for, say, Siddiq, we know he's in the room. Take a photo and where it is, so localize him. And then detect who is it. Detect all the people individually. You know, you take a selfie and Facebook gives you the names. It's not that easy, it comes. Someone has done the work, okay? So we are trying to do that for agriculture, pests and disease, etc. So detection, localization, and then recognition, these three are associated problems. People may think recognition is tough. For us, detection is a far tougher problem. If we miss that one single appearance of the shark, we miss the entire story. Entire plot is lost. Detection is far more challenging than recognition. Once we are able to single out those few objects of images of interest, problem is 90% solved. Then comes localization, then recognition. Within the problem formulation, now say we are looking for drone-based imagery, same weed or same object can be a close shot, can be a far shot, will look small or big. Number one. Number two, disease like say spot form net blotches, and when they form a big one, so they could be different to look at from a camera point of view. So that means the resolution of the objects of interest within that image are not necessarily the same. They will be smaller or bigger. So that means there is a hierarchical organization within them. Some of the things like, think about a human. When you are given a photo, can you detect, recognize this guy? What you look at, first thing? Probably the eyes and the nose. Same thing, we want to do zoom in, widen up, so that becomes a hierarchical problem. So we bring that in the problem formulation. And next one is the level of supervision. Supervision means how we want to pose this to the computer model, whether we have enough data, enough label data to train the models. So that amount of data and the annotations can lead to 4 different types of problems. One is called fully supervised, one is called semi-supervised, like partially supervised, one is unsupervised, no training data available, and another one is called weakly supervised. Now, weak supervision is far more challenging because nowadays we accommodate incorrect annotations. Some experts have done the labeling, and we still say that, look, 30% of the labels can be incorrect. Accommodate that, learn from it. Imagine a baby is learning ABCs, and you are telling that the C that you are supplying and telling them, look, it's a D. And we are training that to the computer. And that weak supervision, and that's where currently we are busy. Full supervised, semi-supervised are sort of quite matured, but weak supervision is coming up quite fast, and that's why it is sitting. Now, in terms of data preparation, it's not only that we have 100 data, we make 80 for training and 20 for testing, but it comes with the annotations, whether we have one image, one label, or one image, every single individual pixels are labeled, or we randomly select a few pixels and label them. So this type of labels are there, and then we face the challenges of data scarcity. You will see the most important class that we are looking for, there is not enough data about it. Data are in plenty for the unnecessary stuff. So the important ones are missing or really rare, data scarce, and definitely there will be class imbalance. So that means some classes will have lots of data, some types will have lots of data, and some of the types will have very few presentations. Now for AI algorithms, it's very easy. Imagine you have 99 images of one class and one image of another class, and the algorithm has not learned anything and telling that, okay, it is from class 1, the majority class. It is still 99 times correct. But when you take the recall or F-score it fails. So that's where the class imbalance is a big issue, and we also want to tackle that. In terms of AI models, we start with off-the-shelf models, because if someone has done the work, and why we want to bother about it? Let's see. Use one of the existing ones. If it works well, okay, brilliant. That's the good start. And then you will see there will be some 5–10% inaccuracies. We usually, what you do, we have giant screens. We put all the errors, incorrect ones, or print them, put on the desk, and try to find out what are the patterns that are leading to that failure. If you can identify one, go back to square one. We have found a problem, solve it. But in the same process, we change and tweak the model, etc., arrangement, so on. Change the activation functions, change the weighting, etc. So many things we do. But then at the same time, we cannot really penalize who were really good in the original trial. So that means it has to be inclusive of the original trial and enhancement to the new stuff. So that's a challenge, and that we do every now and then. And many times, the utility-wise, we want to have an app on our phone, not on a very big desktop computer or a powerful computer. So we want to do that, lightweight models, and we want to distribute. Nowadays, we offer AI models onto the cameras. The cameras will decide if somebody is in your house is an intruder, whether to record it or not. That's what's happening in the home surveillance. Someone has done the work. Some AI guys, AI companies, okay? And then once we have the data, we do decision support, we do uncertainty measure, explainability, and responsible AI. So these three things I talked about a little bit. Uncertainty is not that AI model, because we use so many probabilistic theorems inside. So the AI models is not necessarily that every time same input will generate the same output. There will be some variance there. So that's uncertainty, one thing. Second thing is the data. When you use a normal VGA camera, like 640 by 480, you're looking at a thing is different from if you use a HD camera. If you have even microscopic camera, you can see more. So that brings uncertainty. So uncertainty can come from the model, come from the data acquisition devices, and failure of the data acquisition devices. Just you can try one thing. Take a tripod, put your camera, you stand there, take your photo twice. Same photos, even same black and white wall twice. These two images are never same. It's a guaranteed thing that there will be definitely some difference. So that's called digital noise. So this type of things will always bring uncertainty. And farming, especially when you deal with outdoor, we face a lot of things. For instance, the cloud, wind, even some dew drops, they are so shiny. And the back side of the leaf and front side of the leaf, in the early morning, afternoon, they're all different images. Now for the computers, they're so dumb. They will not understand, the same photo taken at 2 different times. We have to train it one by one. So that leads to uncertainty. Now, explainability and responsible AI, that is rather new. Here we want to explain that which part of the image or which part of the model is bringing this decision or making X amount of weighting into making to that decision. And there is something called a decision curve analysis that gives a clear picture that if you do something with 10 variables and then 12 variables, how much extra benefit those 2 variables are bringing in and how much is the cost to carry those 2 variables, whether it is financially, business-wise viable or not. So that's decision curves. So we are doing all these things. And responsibility, again, bringing the unlearning and federated learning and visualization and protecting the privacy and data sovereignty. All these things together come in the umbrella of responsible AI, and we are doing a bit of it. All right, so now it's easy bit, your language. All right, so we do grain seed classification. That was my first project in agriculture. And here I don't want to go into these details, but we take Bayliss, and the Bayliss, have 2 faces, front face and rear face. We take front photos and rear photos, and we use simple like machine learning algorithms to classify them. And the results were good. Importantly, we could do in 4 milliseconds time per seed, so which is very good. And here, we are a little bit worried that some of the classes were misclassified between them. And then when you talk to our barley expert, Professor Cheng Dao Lee, he said, look, brilliant, because these 3 guys are sitting in the same family. So grandfather, father, and the grandchild. So if you misclassify within the same family, in terms of utility and royalty, it's not a very big problem. If you go across, that's a bigger problem. So in our case, it was good. And this project was later extended to calculate the purity of a supply. So you take a handful of seeds from a supply, you spread it on a paper, take a photo. Let's say there are 200 of them. So we individually calculate their class. And if we see that, okay, 195 of them are in the same class and other 5 are different classes, we say that this supply was 97.5% pure. So that was used for like a truckload of supplies and do them within milliseconds and with a mobile phone instead of using a laboratory testing and molecular testing so that the actual breeders can get their royalty. Okay, frost detection is our flagship project, and this was, we got it by accident. Just go back to high school physics. So when freezing happens, simple water, plain water, when freezing happens at 0 degree, for example, at freezing temperature, there will be some parts of the water started freezing and other part would be still liquid. So that's a state where the latent heat is released, and we are talking about 0 degree water and a mix of 0 degree ice. And that's where AI models were failing. And we wanted to detect that, and we are failing at that point. Everything was 80% plus, but that was 60%. It took us about 4 weeks to figure out what's going on, because we never thought about high school physics at this stage. And then we found, oh, it's a brilliant solution there. What's happening here is our algorithm is confused at the state of 0 degree, whether it's a water or a liquid. It should fail, and it meant to fail. And that failure led us to do this entire project to detect frost in plants without any destruction or any ground truthing. That we don't need to probe the plant to determine whether it is frozen or not. Okay? So here we have some background work. I'm not going to the details of the background work, but one of the major works in this area is the Livingstone. They use spectral imagery and thermal imagery together to detect the frost as they're happening. And if you see this, they're tracking even the freezing as they happen through the plants and the color, and then how they spread and damage the cells, etc. But we didn't do that. We just want to detect using cameras. And now, first thing, the cameras, frost happens in the nighttime. So RGBs are no good. So you have to use thermal cameras. So use thermal cameras. Okay, I brought the slide here, like how the physics came into play. I skipped that. So what we did, just to prove that, yeah, it is happening in a bigger scale, we requested Ben, our chief scientist at DPARD, that can we use his freezing chamber. So they allowed us to use it. So we use Pseudomonas droplets and see how they react to the temperature drops from 0 to -8 degrees. And we label all this data, 0 degree to 1 degree, 1 degree to -2, -2 to -3, and so on. And we train the models, and we found a very similar pattern that we saw in our dummy data. And then the following year, okay, so we could even pinpoint the temperature drops at 1/4 of a degree, so which was really good. So if you look at these 3 diagrams, there are 3 curves here. One was 1 full degree range, another one was half degree range, another one was a 1/4 degree range. And we were able to pinpoint where the freezing was happening, and that correspond to the actual freezing because it was done in the bath chamber, we could do it. Then the following year, we extended the work to a field trial. It was done at west of Dale. Luckily, in that year, we got 2 days of frost, 2 nights of frost. So we had some data. And use those data, do the analysis. Brilliant again. So we applied kept it very simple. We applied existing deep learning models and simple gradient boosting and random forest, etc., because they're so simple. We don't want to bring any auxiliaries, any ornaments to the work. Just do the plain, simple work. That it is a demonstration that in a non-destructive way, we can detect frost from simple infrared images. So, and we got 2 good journals out of it. And later, we extended the work for predicting that, okay, half an hour later, a frost might happen, and some farms, especially value crops, they may have different mechanisms to fight the frost. For example, some blow air, some have sprinklers, some even send helicopters to blow the air so that the frost is gone. So what we did here, we observed that the plants, the canopy and the middle part and the soil, so they have very different temperatures. Soil is the warmest, and the canopy plays a role of a shield, temperature protector. So when the cold comes down, above the canopy is lower temperature than below the canopy, but at a frost event, the barrier is gone. So what happens is canopy and the below canopy become same temperature, and when the frost is gone outside, heated up again, still above canopy is now warmer and below canopy is cooler. And we want to detect that break in and break out. So that is the duration of freezing, that's one thing. And second thing is, we take some backlog data, like say yesterday it was -1, no frost. Day before yesterday, -1, no frost. Yesterday was very much started ice nucleating, but didn't really go to the crystallization form. And today, because we have the backstory, bring them in, and we can predict that, okay, today's day temperature was like this, and here we have some moisture content that leads to that very likelihood that today, in 30 minutes time, there could be frost. And we were very accurate, like 96% correct in that work. So what we did, above canopy, 1 layer, below canopy, we divided into 20 layers. So this little 1 meter depth was 5 centimeters each, that every 5 centimeter will give us a separate reading of the temperature. And then we did the work. So, and again, it kept it very simple, use standard GRU, like gated neural networks and LSTMs to measure the time travel of the data, and it was as expected. So yeah, there are some wiggly curves. This wiggles means the temperature goes up and down. There will be some crossover 1 and crossover 2, and we want to detect those crossovers to measure the durations, and leading up to the curves, whether there is a crossover happening in few minutes later. So that's what we wanted to detect, and it was good. Okay, so, okay. Weed detection, I think this is our most successful project as a PhD student. He published 5 journals, which is very good for a PhD student. Here we faced the data challenge, like we didn't have data. And this student started just at the beginning of COVID, March. When he came, a few weeks later, we had the COVID breakdowns. We couldn't get any data from anywhere, like DPARD or farms and other places, because there was curfews of travel restrictions, etc., etc. So we struggled a bit, quite a bit, but then we go up to the web, and anywhere we get data, we bring all of the data in one basket and repurpose the data that are available. So we take this bounding box, these images are there, but there is no bounding boxes. Even we didn't know the name of this particular weed and so on. So we label them over the time, and then we have developed 3-4 different algorithms, different problem formulations. One is labeling in every pixel, that is computationally expensive. One is drawing bounding boxes and detecting individual plants. And one is giving the infestation label, that how much severe this weed infestation is. So in this particular project, when we did individual bounding boxes, we had a plan that we will combine it into a sprayer, and the sprayer will only go and shoot at the weed, not like, like a random spraying all over the places. That way it will become less contaminated and more efficient and reduction of cost. And we did a simulation. We could achieve up to 30 kilometers per hour spraying, including the detection of the weed classes and measurement of the weed doses, herbicide doses, and putting them there. So all up, these are really good works, but never see the ground. So we are there, but I like to highlight a bit of it. So yeah, this one is, for example, we put a visualization here, that in an image there are a lot of places that could be potentially decision-making stuff there, decision-making clues there, but in some images we can only know this little point, this little square of the image is giving the decision. So we highlight those, and if we take it to the agronomy people, they say, oh yeah, it's brilliant, good. So that's how we scored them as well, and we put competing labels and expert labels and put their similarity measurement. And many times, the human expert may miss something, computer picks up, and there are also occasions where experts, they pick up things, but computer fails. So there is still room for improvements, but we are getting it there. Insects would be very similar to insects would be very similar to weed detection. So we detect and recognize them. Just to give you the idea like how they look like, these are the traps. And now if we are asked to detect how many insects are there and what are the classes, it becomes a big problem. And we try to achieve this problem. One good thing is, usually when you know that these are the class of which insects could be there, it becomes a little bit easier problem because we have their models available and we can mix and match. But still, these are the challenges that we do, and we use hierarchical algorithms, adaptive fusion, we use few other varieties of techniques to achieve these things. And later, out of the curiosity, we thought, okay, instead of doing individual insects, when they form a nest, we use the term colony. When they form a colony, can you really find a bounding box of the colony? So now it becomes a problem of a colony, isolated insects, and no insects. And then we try to do this work. This one could be very useful for the community where lots of mining happening, and then mining is leading to some sort of environmental impact like sooty moles and few other stuff. So they are really, we are in communications with them for further extending this work. But this one, I like to highlight a little bit more because this one we have real data, and that is with DPARD, Sanjeev Gupta. So he gave us his plot to take photos. So we detect plant disease. So for plant disease detection, this one is net blotches in barley. So we take photos and we use simple classifiers first, and we do some results. So these results are good, like in terms of accuracies within a very light network like mobile net, it gives about 94% accuracy, which was good. However, we found that net blotches is spot form and net form. So the net form at early stage, they look very similar to spot form. So now the algorithms are failing, about 14% failures coming from only spot form and early net form. So then we thought, okay, instead of making 4 classes like net form, spot form, scald, and healthy, we make 5 classes. And the work of 5 classes was very good. Then we realized, hang on, we are in a computer science lab, and if we use simple algorithms, students will not get a degree. So we have to make the problem challenging. So what we did, we say that, okay, we make a problem into a few-shot learning problem. Few-shot learning means we only have maximum, either 1 or maximum 5 images per class for training. So it is like, you are given only 5 sets of data and recognize millions more. Put this way, we have a massive classification problem, and it has only given 5 sets of equations. So many variables are there. So that means we have to nullify and make the ambiguous variables out. And that takes a lot of efforts and time in the learning process. And we did some crazy stuff here. So I want to go to the crazy stuff first. So this is the diagram here. So we did 3-step process. First one is called pre-training. So we bank on existing the global data, pre-train the network on them, and then we learn meta about those 5 data that were supplied. And then we do fine-tuning on the data set. So all up, it becomes few million, I think 140 million parameters up there. So we train them only using 5 images per class. So 25 images for 5 classes. And then do the classification. So it becomes a pure computer science problem to address data scarcity and save the thesis. And the student did very, very well. He got 2 journals, so out of the few-shot learning, and we are progressing very well. This one, Kirk is here, so it's his work. He did master's degree and did very well, 2 journals in 1 year of research. Brilliant work here. So what we did here is using ear mount and jaw mount accelerometer sensors. We only track the XYZ positional values, and we track them over time and classify the behavior of a sheep, like if it is sitting, walking, grazing, etc., all the behaviors, and then we can profile them for their activities. So the accuracy-wise, it was brilliant, so 80, 85 plus. And then we extended the work for detection of lambing, because for lambing, the UE may have a lot of different behaviors, like agitation, scratching, etc., pain, so much. And importantly, it is a regulatory requirement that any newborn baby will be tagged to the mother within a certain period of time. So if we can predict half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before that a UE is going towards labor, the attendants can go, our cameras can be set up again, so do this detection. So in this one, we were very good in terms of accuracy, better than the profiling, so which was very good. And Kirk, well done. Okay. So I think this would be the work-wise last one. So low resource tracking. So in remote settings where there is no mobile network or no NB IoT, no wireless networks, how do you manage? And we want to monitor the cattle, so, or even tractors or equipments. So pick them, put a tag on them, that's the LoRa tag, so they will be able to find out where they are. So in a 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer span, our accuracy is about 50 meters, that where is that particular cattle is, or where is that particular equipment is. So we use LoRaWAN technology. So LoRa is a very long range, low resource communication. Its bandwidth is very narrow. It can only send probably a signal in every 1 hour time. It's not that happening with your mobile network, 80 gigabits per second, no. So it's very little. It will only transmit data when it is absolutely needed. And if there is no one queued up in front. So we can do this for tracking and monitoring, especially if a cattle has gone nearby the waterway. So we'll know that, yeah, they might have a sip of water and so on. So that's second work, and we are extending it to smart fencing, that whether a dog or whether another animal has gone past the perimeter or some has intruded the perimeter. So we want to measure those things. So using low resource, long distance communication without the support of no GPS, just because GPS is very power hungry and GPS will die within 2 hours. The power is so important. So these are small chips, about, at the moment it's about $20, but I think they should go 50 cents, like this so cheap if they're commercially made, but their battery life is 50 years. So it's like, because they're so small and so small requirement of transmission, so they can go forever, okay? So we can skip through a few of these, and I like to acknowledge a few people. These are my students. So Mahamadul, Saima, Kirk, and a few others, they're all doing the hard work. Sometimes I say that I'm rising on the shoulders of the students, and that's my currency, that's my resource. And good thing is we work hard together, and I give them, I don't know, the time that they need and wisdom. And yeah, and here are some people that I must acknowledge. Professor Mike Jones, Dean, Deepavin, and Dave Murray, Hamed, Sebastian, these are my colleagues, and Professor Chingdali and Sanjeev from DPART. So they're really good supporter in terms of like verifications and sometimes data. And here is my student who won this year's 1962 Best Thesis Award in the state. So this 1962 award is given in the commemoration of the first computer came to WA, 1962, and it is given to the best PhD thesis in the state. So she won from Murdoch this year. Brilliant work. That was in Frost. And for me, like, it's okay. Like, she's my fourth student, won in the last 6 years. So 4 out of 6, not bad. But she's very important because she's in EdTech. And that was a challenge Professor Peter Davies gave me at Murdoch, and he was very happy when he won this. So yeah, it's an accomplishment, so I thought I'd bring it here today. All right, so now let's talk about, so I'm taking the full hour. Yeah, it's an opportunity to talk, so I don't want to miss anything. All right, so we talk about work. It's a brilliant initiative by the Western Australian like agricultural community, so led by the state government and support partnered by universities like UWA, Carden, Murdoch, and CSRO, Grower Group Alliance, and DPARD. So all together, it's a brilliant consortium collaboration. And we have a number of themes there, 6 themes there. And here is a summary. I'm not going to talk about all of this, but here's a photo of the leads. So I'm one of them, and I have a few people here. Kelly is here, she's the director, top person. And agricultural technologies is my portfolio that I lead. Here, we do, like, the main thing I'd say that emerging technologies and automation. So bring them together and apply them into agriculture, bring the benefit to the farmers in terms of decision support, in terms of automation, timely decisions, and reduce the waste, reduce the use of excessive chemicals, etc. That way, reduce the costs, better quality yields, and better profitability. And I think we have a requirement that we have to achieve 20% better margin in the next 10 years or so. So that's what we are trying to do. So work offers collaborative projects. We need at least 3 partners on each project, and a bit of money leveraging 2 to 1, and a focus on transformational, but not business as usual. So it has to be really, really innovative and challenging. We are always open to submissions. And at the moment, we also have an open call for EOIs. So that's about the PSHP, so polyphagous short ball borers. So we had a talk yesterday. So please feel free to, submit your EOIs. Importantly, what I want to say is, there's like so many people working in so many things, and many times the efforts are duplicated. If these efforts are put together, they will become a reinforcing, a bigger impact event, okay? We want to achieve that, and especially sitting in the West, isolated from the whole world, and even isolated from Sydney or Canberra, yeah, we want to do something bigger. So that's the aim of this collaboration, so let's do things together. And as a program lead, my role is to help building projects, give ideas and work together so that we can lead, approach work, give us some money, and approach, for example, GRDC or ARC or NHMRC, whoever, give us more money, and then do bigger stuff together. We have certain areas that I have highlighted here, but these are not only, we are not only limited to this. Ideas better comes from the ground, not from top down. I always prefer something comes from bottom up. So feel free, anything that you want to do, where emerging technologies and automation can be applied. I can put my inputs as well and help together to build a good proposal. And I have some dreams like that I always put, that this is something we have to achieve. We do a lot of good stuff in the universities. Only a tiny fraction of them go into prototyping and commercial use. That's something, the green box and the yellow box on my left, that we need to do something about it. Innovation-wise, we are brilliant. We publish, I don't know, UWA published 20,000, 30,000 papers per, I don't know, every 6 months. So how many startups we have? So that's something we want to really break the barriers. In Australia, especially in WA, any startup failure is seen as a failure. But we're in a bit different world. In America, it's saying, oh, you learn something from your experience and out of your money. Next time, you will not do the mistake again. We want to change that culture as well. So let's see how far we can go. But yeah, tech and industry connection, etc., should be our priority, and we should aim for this. And with soft computing, with especially computers, it's very easy. Once you make one copy, you can make as many copies as you want. No problem with that. But making the first copy is big. It's not like bricks and mortars. You have to make every single copy separately. Operating systems, Windows, someone made one copy, sold, I don't know, billions of copies around the world. Okay, so it's easier. And to conclude, so we have accomplished some projects, and we are doing something good. We are open to collaboration. Collaboration can come from data sharing from your side to me, and vice versa. AI technologies, really, we are good at, to be honest. I couldn't summarize everything in half an hour, 1 hour time, but the amount of works that we have done, if you look at my publications, simply me alone, about 100 journals in AI, and about a quarter of them in agriculture. So it's a lot of work we are doing. So, and there will be a lot more people at UWA. I know Professor, like few people here, and I also know Curtin, Murdoch ECU. We are all doing great stuff. Let's do it together. So that would be good. Work is relatively a new theme, a new avenue. So my role is to engage and help, and AgTech planning, open to your suggestions, advice, if you want to prioritize something, brilliant. And I always say studentship, scholarships, it's a good opportunity to bring new energy, new people in, and work is very good. I offered 24 scholarships so far, and there will be another round coming up soon. So please prepare your potential students. That will be great. All right, so that's all. And one just disclaimer, if you have seen some slides with logos, Murdoch and work, that is both I'm representing. In some slides, you'll see only work logos, but in some slides, you may see only Murdoch logos. So the work is distinct, and I want to differentiate so that I don't like to be caught later. All right, thank you. And here is the last slide that what AI can do. This photo was generated in 3 seconds using ChatGPT. Thank you.
Thank you, Ferdous. That wonderful talk. We'll take some sharp questions. Please tell your name, where you are, and questions. Who wants to go first? Yep.
Hi, Doug Hall, do policy work for industry groups. You're the one carrying the microphone.
That's okay. Thank you.
I'll just repeat it. Doug Hall, I do policy work for industry groups. I'm interested in how the WARC is actually interacting with industry. I'm aware that you interact with the Grow Group Alliance, but there are lots of groups in agriculture and horticulture that aren't part of that group. How do they interact with WARC and the possibility of partnership in projects?
All right, so it's a bit bigger question probably than me, but I think
Kelly can.
Yeah, I can start a little bit and then I pass to Kelly. So what's happening is WARC has 6 partners. So these are the governance requirements. And then there is a requirement, any project that is coming to WARC, for example, for support, the partner needs to bring industry. Partners' contributions is not counted. So the industry contributions are very important. End of the day, it becomes the role of the partners to bring industry. And also when we see, like we talk to so many people, we talk to industry, when we see some opportunities, we also bring industry to the potential partners that, hey, there is an opportunity, please check how it's going.